So I'm wondering something. What exactly does a woman see in a man like Zevran?
Oh, he's handsome enough for some. Why'd you ask?
No reason. It's just... doesn't he seem to be a bit too much? The hair, the clothing...
I don't understand. A bit too much what? Do you have a problem with him?
Beyond the fact that he's an assassin who's tried to kill us more than once? No, not really. Do women go for that sort of thing?
Where I come from, they do. Oh, yes.
Huh. Really? I see.
They tell you what to wear in the chantry.
You have robes and such that you must wear.
And, so... robes. What else?
Well, sometimes there are vestments and ceremonial garments.
Right. And then...
Why are you so interested in this?
Ah, sod it. Under the robes. Pants. No pants.
What?
Stop stalling. Naked or not.
What difference does it make?
All right. Stonewall me. I'll find out one way or the other.
Right. Good luck with that. There are many great tales of lost kings who return to their lands to reign in glory.
I am not lost, nor for that matter, a king. And there's nothing glorious about me.
You are Merrick's son. You are the rightful king of Ferelden.
I am the son of a star-struck maid and an indiscreet man who just happened to be king. Look, I can't be king. Some days I have trouble figuring out which boot goes on which foot.
Complete fools are made leaders of kingdoms all the time, and you're not a complete fool.
What an utter relief.
And don't worry about the boots. Kings don't need to dress themselves. That's what advisors are for, isn't it?
And star-struck maids, apparently.
What was that soup you made for supper last night?
Oh, that's a traditional Ferelden lamb and pea stew. Do you like it?
Oh, so it was lamb then. It had a certain texture I don't normally associate with lamb.
They didn't make lamb and pea stew for you in Lothering?
We ate simply there. Whole grains made into biscuits or bread, and vegetables from the garden, cooked lightly. No heavy stews.
Ah, so the last lamb you had was probably cooked Orlesian style. Food shouldn't be frilly and pretentious like that. Now, here in Ferelden, we do things right. We take our ingredients, throw them in the largest pot we can find, and cook them for as long as possible until everything is a uniform grey colour. As soon as it looks completely bland and unappetizing, that's when I know it's done.
You're having me on.
Ha! You need to eat in more Ferelden inns.
Is something the matter? Are you thinking about Branka?
Branka.
You loved her, didn't you? I've seen you some nights, staring off into the distance with such sadness in your eyes. You wonder if you did something that drove her away. You wonder if she would have stayed if you had done things differently. She must have loved you. Somewhere inside.
That sodding great dew-licker had a heart clad in iron. She had only one love. The anvil. And later, the anvil. Only sighed because I was gassy and finally let off a good one. Should be hitting you right about now. Silent killer, huh? How do you stand it? All that open hair. Sometimes I look into that big black emptiness and it's like it's swallowing me up.
I like it. I like to imagine the sky goes on forever. Boundless fields of stars whirling and swirling eternally in their slow dance.
Not helping. I don't like looking up and seeing the great infinite nothing.
You know, in the old days, people said that the sky was an immense vaulted ceiling, crafted by the Maker himself to protect the world. But the ceiling sky covered the world in shadow, and so he set in it the sun and moon to light up the world below. And then he made the stars, and laid them down in curious patterns that man will look upon them and wonder what they represented.
So the sky is just the inside of a great sodding cave.
That's what they believed, and it gave them comfort.
Then why the bleeding mud did your maker build it so high up?
You know, I've heard about the Orlesian bards.
Who hasn't? They are quite famous after all.
The stories I heard were a little racier. It had to do with how a bard assassinated her target, how they were lulled into complacency.
If those stories were true, who would ever agree to entertain a bard in their court?
Oh, I don't know. There's a certain allure to danger, isn't there? And besides, you couldn't all be assassins, could you? I'd take my chances. If the stories were true, that is.
We had rules about that sort of thing. Strict rules.
Such as? You're not gonna tell me, are you?
Let's just say I had plenty of reasons to join the Chantry, shall we? And leave it at that.
So what do you think will happen to all those people we left behind in Lothering?
Some of them will find their way to Denerim. Many will die, as the Maker wills.
Don't you wish you could have stayed there? To help more people, I mean.
If the Blight isn't stopped, everyone will die. This is the greater good we're serving, both of us, right here.
So it's all right to let some people die for the greater good? I'm not so sure about that. I felt bad leaving all those people there, all panicked and helpless.
You're doing what you must, Alistair. There will be worse to come yet. You will need to steel yourself. You know this.
I've never been very good at that. The steeling myself part. I find it better sometimes to just be a little weak. I'm all right with that, really.
I don't believe you. And either way, it's not as if any of us has a choice.
I will never get over how quietly you are able to move.
It took me years and years to learn, and even then I'm not the best at it.
So you didn't sneak around when spying?
We all had different ways of doing things. Some preferred not to be seen at all, to cloak themselves in shadow and darkness. I realized that it is not such a bad thing to be seen, as long as you do not stand out and are quickly forgotten. I specialized in blending in, not drawing attention and looking like I had every right to be there. It is invisibility, but of another kind.
Ah, yes, but I heard you often seduced your targets. They'd remember you.
Not if they died.
Oh.
Dying while in the company of a lovely seductress. Tell me that isn't a good death.
I don't know if I should take you seriously. But you scare me sometimes.
So you can turn into animals, aye? Like cats and wolves?
When the desire strikes me.
Have you ever, went into winter?
That's a most curious little mind you have, dwarf. And what if I had? Would that thought comfort you during your lonely nights?
Have you ever changed during?
Why are you suddenly asking me this?
How do we know you're truly a woman, or even a human? You could be a chipmouse, or a nug. Imagine that.
Why, yes. I am actually a nug in human form. I have come to observe your kind.
Nugs are good with extra sauce. I'm just saying. I swear the things I could do to you.
Ugh, it is leering at me once again.
Oh, did I say that out loud?
So you met this sibling of yours?
Half-sister, but yes.
And she turned out to be an insufferable hag?
You'd have liked her. You two have a lot in common.
And you let her berate you without punishment?
It's moments like this when I truly appreciate the difference between you and me.
It is moments like this when I truly wonder at the difference between you and a toadstool.
You couldn't hurt me if you wanted to, which, you know that.
'Tis so.
Dwarves resist magic, woman. There's nothing you could do.
Nothing. I could not, for instance, kick you in your manhood.
Oh.
Do you wish to see?
Not necessary.
Well, the offer stands.
So tell me, was the Tower of Magi everything you thought it would be?
Abominations running rampant, Templars ready to slaughter every mage in sight. Yes, it rather met all my expectations.
You don't think you might have been better off getting your training there, instead of whatever your mother taught you?
You're right. My mother didn't nearly have as many abominations running about. That certainly would have improved my education.
I'll give you that one.
I'm so relieved. There is one thing I do not understand, Alistair.
Just the one thing.
About you, perhaps. Why the deception over your parentage?
I'd figure you'd be the sort who knows all about deception.
I do. And what use the deception might have had ended when King Cailan perished, did it not?
Maybe. I guess I was sort of hoping that would go away.
The truth does not go away.
Didn't say it was a good plan.
So I take it you did not enjoy your Templar training?
That's directed at me, I take it.
Do you see any others about who have failed at their religious instruction?
I didn't fail. I was recruited into the Grey Wardens.
And if you had not been recruited, what would have happened instead?
I would have turned into a drooling lunatic, slaughtered the Grand Cleric, and run through the streets of Denham in my small clothes, I guess.
Your self-awareness does you credit.
I thought you'd like that. So let's talk about your mother for a moment.
I'd rather talk about your mother.
Well, there's nothing to talk about. And besides, isn't your mother a scary witch who lives in the middle of a forest? Much more interesting.
To you, perhaps. You would find the moss growing upon a stone interesting.
You know what's more interesting than that? Apostates, mages outside of the tower. That's illegal, you know.
You did not read that in a book somewhere, did you? I hope the small letters did not strain you overmuch.
Or we could not talk about your mother. That works for me.
Have a care where your eyes linger, Alistair.
Yes, well, don't worry. It's not what you think.
I see.
I was looking at your nose.
And what is it about my nose that captivates you so?
I was just thinking that it looks exactly like your mother's.
I hate you so much.
What?
Never mind.
So tell me something, Morrigan. Did you live there in that forest your entire life?
I left it on occasion, but I always returned. Why? Is that so strange? It was my home.
But it was just you and your mother there? No one else?
Mother occasionally had company.
What? Company? Do I even want to ask?
No, you really don't. You do not truly think I look as my mother does, do you?
Have you really been thinking about that all this time?
I am simply curious.
And not insecure in the slightest, I'm sure.
I think I look nothing like her.
I don't know. Give it a few hundred years and it'll be a spot-on match.
I said that I look nothing like her.
All right, got it. Totally different. I see that now. Were you really in that cage for 20 days?
It might have been closer to 30. I stopped counting after a while.
What did you do? I mean, 20 days is a long time to sit in one place and do nothing.
On good days, I posed riddles to the passers-by, offering them treasures in exchange for correct answers.
Really?
No.
Ah, too bad. That's got serious potential. Don't you ever talk? You know, make polite conversation just to put people at ease?
You mean that I should remark upon the weather before I cut off a man's head?
Never mind.
Dwarf,
What?
stop tripping me.
Stop tripping yourself.
If you were significant enough to notice, I wouldn't step on you.
Oh, well, your mother.
That was disappointing. I expected better from you.
Yeah, sorry, I was in a rush. Come on. Who ate the cabbage?
Why ask me?
I guess you thought we could all share in the bounty. Oh, stand up to it, you giant ass. You birthed a cloud to be proud of. I hope you've thought of a name.
You know, you never did tell me how you passed the time in that cage for so long.
No, I didn't.
So... what did you do in there?
A training exercise. I would observe an object, and then try to think of all the words in your language which began with the same letter as its name.
That? Wait, just wait. You're joking again, aren't you?
No.
You are not telling me that you played I Spy against yourself for 20 days?
There are a lot of things in Lothering that begin with G.
I spy with my little eye something that begins with G.
Is it a Grey Warden? Is it in fact you?
Ooh, you're really good at this.
Ah, Wynn. Care to partake of Ogren's fine homebrew? It's the drink of the gods.
Ale, is it? And I hope it's brewed hygienically?
Of course. I may not know clean from a beggar's ass when it comes to most things, but I don't mess around with my ale.
Very well, let's have a taste.
Well, what do you think?
Very nice.
Ah, you like it? Well, I never...
Attractive amber color, nutty flavor, slightly sweet, just a hint of toastiness. There's some spice to it I'm finding hard to place.
Yes?
Is it cloves?
Cloves! Ha ha! By the stone, you're a lady after my own heart. If I weren't buckled in this armor, I'd take you around the corner and, well, you know.
Give me more ale?
So, Wynn, how'd you know so bleedin' much about ale? Have some tawdry tale of misspent youth to tell?
Nothing quite so interesting, my friend. The tranquil mages of the Circle just happen to be alchemical miracle workers, and they brew more than just potions. There was always a pitcher or two of fine ale at our supper table.
Well, bless my britches. Maybe when all this is done, I'll chat up one or two of them quiet mages.
Tranquil.
Tranquil, quiet, insipid. Same difference. Aye, sure. Why not?
Pardon?
Oh, I'd give you a roll. Why not?
A roll?
Aye, anytime. Preferably in the dark.
I suppose I should be flattered.
I'm not sure I have the equipment for that, but sure, whatever gets you working.
Here, I bought you a towel, a bar of soap, and a razor while we were at the market.
Aye? What is this for?
You wash with it.
I know what soap is, woman. What is this flimsy slip of metal?
It's a razor. You shave with it.
Shave? Any warrior worth his salt keeps his beard. That's what I keep telling Alistair.
It's matted. It has stale food stuck in it.
Oh, that's where that bit of herring got you. Anyway, it keeps my face warm. Doesn't have to be pretty. Besides, the ladies love it. Tickles them in all the right places if I wag my chin like this.
Oh, just take it. Take it. Why do you occasionally refer to Alistair as a little pike twirler?
Why? Is a little pike twirler taking offense?
It's just a curious description.
Curious? It's entirely true. What, you haven't seen him twirling his pike? Goes at it when he thinks no one's watching. Knocks about in the trees like there's no tomorrow. Caught him just the other day. blushed all the way down to his navel, then couldn't find his shirt. I swear he's gonna hurt himself one of these days, the way he works that thing.
I don't want to hear this anymore, do I?
I keep telling him pikes are for sticking things at long range, aye? Horses and such, not for twirling like a sissy girl.
Wait, you're talking about an actual pike? Like a spear?
Obviously. What else would I be talking about?
I can't imagine.
I find it very odd.
It meaning me. Am I in it now too? I feel honored.
For one who professes to be a warrior, I find it remarkably weak-willed and indecisive.
Thank you?
It also likes to hide its many weaknesses behind a veil of jocularity.
For a statue, you know a lot of big words.
Is there a reason it enjoys following others so much? Especially when it is in a position to lead.
Have you ever been responsible for someone else's life? Or a lot of other lives? Or an entire nation?
Of course not.
Then shut up.
I will remember this moment when the birds come.
So do you ever want to go back?
To Honleith? Perhaps it should stare at a patch of grass for 30 years and then tell me how much it misses it.
Point taken. Still, if you can't remember anything else ever, it would be scary to leave, I think.
Fortunately, I am not as comfortable with the mundane and familiar as some.
Ooh, ow, ow. Sort of an adventurer, I see. Brave new world, that sort of thing.
And instead, I should be content to remain in that village, standing still out of fear of the unknown. What life is that? I know what I am now. I know how I was made. I can move forward. It, who has had so much more, should do half as well.
Thanks for that. I feel really good now.
A pleasure. Next time, we shall speak of its grammar and personal hygiene.
You know, I've seen a golem or two in my time. We have them in Orzammar.
It is indeed wise in the ways of the golem. It deserves a medal.
Thing is, I don't remember anyone ever mentioning about them having memory problems.
Perhaps they're not the ones with the memory problems.
I talked to a golem once. It didn't have anything interesting to say, but its memory, sharp. It could tell you what you were wearing at the Baaaanteeeeeer festival 10 years ago.
Probably vomit and flies and little else, if I were to guess.
Of course, if someone simply claimed to have lost their memory, that would avoid some awkward questions.
Is it still talking? It is not drinking, so it must be.
Fine, fine. You go on and don't answer.
My bard assassinated her target. So, Shale, when you were standing there all that time, did you sleep?
I have no need to sleep. My body does not tire or do other flesh-related functions.
But don't you get bored? Wouldn't you want to dream at least?
I do not dream. This is what it does when it sleeps. It paws its nose and mumbles incoherently.
Yes, of course. I thought we all... Huh. You watch me?
I watch all closely when they are still at night. There is little else to do.
For hours and hours?
I count the breaths. It helps to overcome the overwhelming urge to crush their faces while they sleep.
Well, I won't be doing much of that anymore. So tell me something. Do you feel pain when you get hit in combat?
This is when it squeals loudly and spurts blood about. This is when it feels pain.
Maybe. I've seen you take some bad hits. Don't you feel anything?
Anger, rage even, perhaps a little distress. Is this pain?
I'm not sure. I don't think I'd call it distress, exactly. It's more...
For me, it is more...
That sounds more like a bowel movement. I mean that sharp, stabbing... Like that?
No, nothing like that.
No? Huh. Good to know. So this bird thing of yours.
I do not have a bird thing. I have an extremely justified rage of the flying vermin that plague this world.
But there are some birds that are useful. Like the ones you eat.
I approve of the ritual slaying of the foul beast, but it eats one? Disgusting.
Oh, they're really quite tasty. You just need to rip off the feathers first. I like the skin myself.
I think I'm going to be sick.
Ooh, golem vomit. This I have to see.
So, I have a question for you, dwarf.
Oh, sounds like you're passing a stone there. Get it? Passing a stone?
I do get it, yes. My question is this. Had the Anvil of the Void not been destroyed, does it believe the dwarfs would have used it?
You mean to create more golems? Oh, yes. Faster than you could squish a nug.
Even knowing the agony that it caused, they would still inflict it on others?
No need to inflict it. There'd be plenty ready and willing to sign up, just as you did. There's fewer and fewer of us each year, and the Darkspawn never run out. If it meant saving Orzammar, there'd be plenty who'd become a golem, sure.
Does it think it was wrong to destroy the Anvil, then?
No. Sometimes people need to be kept from doing stupid things, even for good reasons.
It is referring to its former wife?
I think some statues should sod off and ask their sodded questions to someone else. So, you remember your old master's name, right? And everything about him?
Is it still going on about my memory? Such focus must be incredibly difficult for it to maintain.
You don't remember killing him, or how you got all free-willed or anything. But you do remember the next 30 years?
More or less. My former master did something to me which I do not remember. What is its point?
How could you know he did something to you, unless you remember it?
Let us, for argument's sake, assume it is correct. I murdered the fool on purpose, and remember it. Why would I lie?
Because you, could do it again.
Yes. I waited 30 years, biding my time until I could strike. Soon my betrayal shall be complete.
Exactly. I knew it. Ha!
Well, do not tell anyone. I want it to be a surprise when it happens. Would the drunken dwarf have saved its former wife if it could? I assumed that since the drunken dwarf was a master of the inappropriate, it lacked the ability to actually be offended.
Good call. Truth is, I don't know. She was almost crazier than when we were married, it looked like.
Almost. It is exaggerating, surely.
Branka was always a bit twitchy. There was that day she took her forging hammer to my head for misplacing her tongs. Good times.
I'm finding the nature of its relationship to this Branka difficult to imagine.
Make-up sex. She really knew how to polish the old anvil, if you take my meaning. Paragon. Yeah.
I'm done imagining now. There was a man in the village who reminded me of the drunken dwarf.
They had some dwarves just like me, huh?
No, none of the dwarves were similar. They were quiet and respected, more or less. No, the one I remember was a human. He vomited in the street constantly. Then he wandered into a snowstorm and froze to death.
Huh? And how was that like me?
Did I say similar? I meant I hoped he was similar.
I think I had a wife like you once. So, do golems know any good jokes?
I know at least one. It is a drunken dwarf that travels with the Grey Warden, constantly belching and...
Bah! I mean, a real one. You must have overheard at least one or two standing there as you did for years and years.
There was a human man who once started telling a joke to another as he relieved himself on my leg. I confess I didn't listen. I was too busy planning my revenge.
Huh? And what happened to him?
He disappeared during the fighting in Honleith. Tragic. Hit his head on a rock, I think.
Remind me not to fart anywhere near you. I think I got it now. Why you claim to forget about that murdering bit.
Oh, do tell. Does it involve prostitutes and quaint mining references?
You're embarrassed.
I am embarrassed.
You're a proud one. If I know anything, it's when someone's too proud for their own damn good. And whatever that mage dug up in you, it made you lose control, didn't it? You go on and on about how humans are weak and they die so easily. And you should know, right? Slip up once and they die, just like that.
This is its theory?
I bet you even like the guy. Easier to believe you killed someone you hate, though, huh?
It knows nothing. It knows less than nothing.
About screwing up? I know lots. More than lots. But you just go on thinking whatever you like, Stone Britches.
Drunken dwarf fights reasonably well.
You don't have to make it sound like you're passing a stone to admit it.
It is not physically weak or entirely inept in combat.
You looking to borrow money or something?
I'm saying that there are worse things than being forced to fight at its side.
Good to know. Should I drop my trousers now, or are you done?
Done. Very done.
Don't give me that look, dog. You're about one lifted leg away from becoming a new pair of boots.
Just how smart are Mabari supposed to be, anyway? Do you think they understand everything we say? Oh, is that so? You could just be listening to the tone of my voice. You could be an utter moron for all we know. Hey now! There's nothing saying that a moron can't be cute and adorable. Who's the cute and adorable puppy? Ignorance is bliss, isn't it? That's what the Chantry kept telling me anyhow. Do you really know what's going on here? The Blight, the Civil War? I really wonder how much of it you understand. We're all special. Big parts to play. Even you, especially you in some ways. You are the Mabari. You guard one of the most important people... What? You want to play? But I'm talking. Why doesn't anyone want to hear me talk?
Hey, you stupid mutt. What are you looking at me for? Well, you better get moving, you great sodding pile of potential poo. Watch where you're going, you sodding great horse of a dog.
Oh, he didn't do anything to you. Let it go.
One day, someone's gonna kick you, beast. Not saying who, but someone.